After a search that lasted more than 2 decades, there is finally an answer. The American friend who once helped a Chinese woman fight desertification has finally been found. Now the two old friends have met again in Ordos, Inner Mongolia. The sight of them embracing tightly is touching enough. But behind that embrace lies an even more remarkable story. And that story began 26 years ago in the Mu-Us Desert. The American man's name is Ronald Sakolsky. But for many years, the Chinese people who remembered him knew him by a more familiar name, Sakolsky. More than 2 decades ago, Sakolsky came to China as part of a teacher exchange program. In 1999, he happened to see a television report about a Chinese woman named Yin Yuzhen. At the time, she was living in the Mu-Us Desert. Every day, she faced an endless sea of yellow sand. And she was doing something that seemed almost impossible, planting trees in the desert, one by one. Sakolsky was deeply moved by her story. Later, he raised $5,000 and arranged for the money to be donated to Yin Yuzhen, hoping it would help her continue planting trees and fighting desertification. At the time, $5,000 was a considerable amount of money. Based on her income back then, it was equivalent to many years of earnings. But Yin Yuzhen kept only $1 as a souvenir. She used almost all the rest of the money to buy tree seedlings. Sakolsky could never have imagined what would happen next. More than 50,000 tree seedlings were planted in the desert. Year after year, their roots slowly took hold in the sand. And the land that had once been covered by blowing sand gradually began to turn green. But after that, Yin Yuzhen and Sakolsky lost contact. For many years, Yin carried their old photograph with her as she traveled to different places to share her experience of fighting desertification. Whenever she told her story, she would mention the American friend who had once helped her. Again and again she asked, "Does anyone know him?" Then, in May 2026, an online search finally brought good news. The Sakolsky she had been searching for more than 2 decades had been found. On August 23, Sakolsky, now in his 70s, travelled halfway around the world and returned to China. He once again set foot on the land he had never forgotten. When he finally saw Yin Yuzhen again in Ordos, the two old friends didn't need many words. They simply walked quickly toward each other and then embraced tightly. 26 years had passed. 26 years is enough time for a baby to grow into an adult. It is enough time for a city to completely change. But for those who fight the desert, those 26 years were made up of more than 9,000 ordinary days. Day after day, under the wind and burning sun. Planting seedlings in the sand again and again. Watching some of them die, then planting again, losing them again, and planting again. Yin Yuzhen was not born a hero. She was simply an ordinary woman who refused to bow her head to the desert. When she accepted Sakolsky's help all those years ago, she didn't know whether she would eventually succeed. She simply made up her mind about one thing. No matter how difficult it became, she would not let the kindness of her faraway friend go to waste. Looking back today, this story is not only about Yin Yuzhen. It is also a small reflection of China's decades-long effort to fight desertification. The Mu'us Desert was once one of China's 4 major sandy regions. Sandstorms darkened the sky. Vegetation struggled to survive. Wind and sand swept across farmland, homes, and roads. Those difficult years remain deeply engraved in the memories of many local people. Today, however, more than 70% of the Mu'us sandy land has been brought under control. In many places, a historic transformation has taken place, from the desert advancing and people retreating to greenery advancing and the desert retreating. Land once covered by endless yellow sand is now home to forests, grasslands, and green landscapes. Places where survival was once extremely difficult can now support local communities and livelihoods. And this transformation is not limited to the Mu'us Desert. From the 3 North Shelter Belt program, which has continued for nearly half a century, to the idea that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. China has spent decades carrying out large-scale, long-term ecological restoration. According to NASA satellite data, between 2000 and 2019, China contributed roughly a quarter of the world's increase in greenleaf area. The reunion between Sakolsky and Yin Yuzhen after 26 years is like a small window into this much bigger story. Through their experience, we see more than just a friendship between 2 elderly people. We see the perseverance of ordinary people. We see kindness that crossed national borders. We see the enormous changes brought by decades of fighting desertification. And we see a shared human hope for a greener future. Today, the 2 old friends have planted another tree together on the land of the Mu'us Desert. Perhaps their friendship will grow, just like the trees on this land, with roots reaching deep into the soil, continuing to grow year after year, becoming stronger and greener. And perhaps many years from now, when the wind blows through this forest, the sound of leaves rustling in the breeze will be the best answer to an act of kindness that began 26 years ago.